And that really brings us to this next logical question. If scaling actually requires, this level of discipline, what does a high confidence path actually looks like, Irina?
So this roadmap is actually very intentional, and it starts with executive alignment and AI strategy. There is no magic formula for AI implementation that is different from implementing any other technology. It has to align to business goals, to business outcomes in order to generate value. So having that executive alignment from a sponsorship perspective, as well as vision perspective and a business value alignment is absolutely critical. And when it comes to AI strategy, I think, and Hulu mentioned it also, having that North Star, that ultimate goal, that aspirational goal is also super important. Then you take incremental steps to get there, but it's really important to understand what is your ultimate destination. So once that is secure, aligned, and it's like check, then we can move on to the next step, saying, we know what our goals are. We know what business problems we wanted to solve. Now let's identify use cases and agents that's going to get us there. And I'm going to repeat myself again. Start small, scale big, scale smartly to get to that North Star. Laying foundation for success. We talked about data. We talked about guardrails. We talked about governance. And by the way, when this forbidden term center of excellence or governance was an optional with some of the deterministic technology or traditional technology, it's no longer optional with AI because you're introducing digital workforce. So organizations need to be able to take accountability and responsibility for this technology. Therefore, when we talk about laying foundation, we talk about technological foundation, data foundation, as well as process or organizational foundation. And then after step 3, you're actually ready to start building your agents and configuring your agents. Once you go live with your first agent, test it out, see how it feels, see what results it drives, and then iterate through it to maximize performance. And then, of course, plan for scale. We started with the definition of agentic enterprise and agentic journey, and we gave you a lot of incremental steps to get there. So planning for scale is actually building out that roadmap of getting to that agentic enterprise goal.
Thanks, Irina. That's a lot. Atul, in your experience, what tends to be the critical focus when organizations, they move from a successful pilot to scaling across teams and use cases?
I think to extend to what Irina just mentioned, that all the roadmap items that you were just showing on the slides they actually lay the actual groundwork for a successful Agentforce initiative. But after that, I think the next steps would be around uh, building a strong foundation that would actually extend into the enterprise capability of the Agentforce, and that would actually require lots of technical rigor and operational clarity of what Agentforce would do and all. Now, specifically talking about the organizations that scale successfully focus on three specific areas, what I would think of. One is the scalability, the Salesforce org, the integrations, and the Agentforce itself uh, is gonna handle multiple agents, lots of high volume transactions. There will be lots of APIs that would be hit. There will be lots of data that would be processed during the course of time. Lots of transactions and all that might be running in parallel, whereas there will be lots of event-driven real-time transactions that might also be happening. So the architectural scalability has to cover all these areas of the the Agentforce implementation. And then next comes the data specifically, which I was talking earlier as well. The data is generally fragmented, outdated. So the agent has to perform lots of, not just the agent specifically, even the tools like maybe Salesforce, Data 360 and all, they have to perform data unification. They have to pull in data real time or asynchronous from different systems. Uh, it has to build lots of cross object context around it. There should be session continuity as well that might be coming in. The recommendations have to come in. So if the focus is specifically around building some robust, I would say, ETL processes, and maybe monitoring the pipelines that are working with all these systems and making sure there's no breakage or leakage anywhere. Probably that's pretty important. And governance that I'm repeating again and again. So someone has to own lots of things in a particular scaling of the AI implementation, which can be as simple as maybe approving prompts, but someone has to even keep on retraining the models that are giving the answers to different people as a bot and all. There will be lots of exceptions and all, so someone has to keep on reviewing those and fixing those. There will be lots of version control and also that need to happen. So there has to be different ownerships that should be assigned to different people at different times. So these were the three main focus areas that I have generally seen, and specifically talking about what Irina was also now mentioning, that you pick up, let's say, a very small implementation and see the actual results out there. So I just wanted to highlight, okay, we actually saw in one of our customer implementation where we actually picked Agentforce to work specifically on a Service Cloud uh, use case around case management, where they had to actually keep on, I would say, frequently reassign the cases for different reasons that can be around maybe skill of the agent or availability and all that. And obviously, there were lots of times, there were lots of manual interventions that someone has to do. And there were lots of escalations and also that were happening around it. And most of it was uh, around maybe because there were lots of, I would say, movement of the case ownership and all happening due to shift timings and lots of other things. So that was actually leaving the context of the case itself from one person to other. So to solve that, we actually built more of a, I would say, case timeline kind of thing using Agentforce and some custom Apex classes and all, which would actually build the whole timeline summary of every activity that was happening on that case. We would also highlight, okay, what's the sentiment of the customer during a particular conversation that might be happening on that case, and we would actually even present ready-made automated emails or responses that must go out from that case using Agentforce itself. Now, we solve this problem, and I would say within a month or so, we would actually immediately see that the escalations had dropped by almost 10 to 15% immediately. And obviously, when everything is ready and lots of summarization and all that is happening already, the efficiency itself almost increased by 10-15% immediately. So with this particular pilot, lots of trust was actually gained, and then we actually improved and added on more use cases to this pilot. So starting small, measuring the efficiency, and then just expanding it to the other use cases, uh, I would also recommend.
Right, absolutely, Atul. And echoing the Irina's previous words as well, your points on scalability, data integration, and operational ownership, it really sets the stage, for the next challenge the organizations they face, right? Earning and maintaining the trust in the AI, right? At Atul's points, highlight something important. Even with the right architecture, data and governance he talked about, AI success ultimately comes down to one thing, right? Which is trust. And that's, where the real trust gap shows up. Today, 60% of the companies, still don't fully trust AI agents. And even as they move from exploration to implementation, trust only rises from 37 to 47%. Irina, from what you are seeing across enterprises, what is actually helping these organizations close this trust gap and moving from skepticism to confidence in these AI agents?
Well, actually, what you have displayed on the screen, this is exactly that the expectations that company leadership will have of AI and specifically agentic AI. It's understanding and adherence to policy. Every company has a set of legal and compliance policies, their internal policies. And it's absolutely not an option. It's a must for AI to adhere to them and follow them and be built into the guardrails of AI. Human and AI teaming. From the first slide, we continuously said, how would AI augment human labor force? And where is that handshake? So when we start talking about generative AI, we talk about human in the loop, human at the helm. Well, now you're introducing autonomous technology. So instead of saying human in the loop, we're talking about human plus AI. So that definition of that handshake is absolutely critical and important. Observability refers to the fact that people need to know what is AI doing, how is it making decisions, which decision it's making, what is the audit trail associated with AI. Kind of not treat it as a black box, but be able to open and see inside. What controls and rigors and reportings and dashboards are available to see what AI is doing, how it's behaving. Safety, security, and quality. Agentforce comes with very robust trust layer. However, in addition to it, we present a risk framework where we recommend going through a very systematic assessment of every use case and assess risk and come up with the mitigation for each action that agent will take. And again, data sensitivity and compliance, right? We discussed multiple times data governance, data availability, who should see what, permissions, etc. So we hold AI in with very high standards, and it needs to deliver on all of these aspects in order for AI to earn our trust to be used in corporations.
Powerful points there, Irina. What actually stands out is that trust isn't something you can mandate, right? It's something that has to be earned moment by moment through clarity, accountability, and the results, right? Trust is the linchpin of the AI adoption. However, the reality is the speed of AI innovation is moving far faster than how quickly teams can actually adopt it. Atul, from an implementation perspective, right? What practical steps can organizations they take, to close this trust gap during the very early stages of adoption?
I think so. That's again a very interesting question, and I think so. Forget AI for one second. I would say any new change that you are bringing into the team, how would you actually make sure that your team actually accepts that? Uh, the very first step would be, I think, involve them into making that decision itself, and that's how I do with my team as well. Whenever we are bringing in any new change in the organization itself, or even within the team itself. So what I would do is actually I will involve, let's say, superheroes or heroes from each section of the team, and then maybe we'll discuss, brainstorm, and think about, okay, this is what we want to do new. What's their take on it? Obviously, there will be concerns or questions for clarity and all that, and we would do a healthy discussion and all. And then later on, obviously, if there are some tweaks needed, we would actually do that and then implement the changes. So, what I'm trying to say here is when you actually involve uh, the team itself into an implementation, whether it's AI or whether it's any other new change, when they are part of that implementation itself, I think they actually automatically become the owners of that implementation. So, and I mentioned earlier as well, it does not have to always come just top down. Um, when we are involving the team and when the team understands, okay, how AI is working, how the decisions are being made, um, what are the reasons why those decisions were being taken by the AI itself. Even I would maybe say suggest the organizations, okay, take it a one step ahead and show them the back end and show them that how on the technical level itself uh, the tool can actually showcase, okay, all the outputs that it is generating. There are lots of, I would say, audit trails that Salesforce provides you out of box that they can actually review and all. Obviously, you can always assign ownership from within the team itself to continue reviewing all these audits and all. So basically, like Irina was also mentioning, if the AI and humans are actually working hand in hand, the pilots will always be successful, as well as the ongoing validation will also keep on improving the AI in the long run. So that's generally the first step, is obviously involving the team itself. And then secondly, I mentioned earlier as well, I would say I would always suggest that, okay, do or fix a small use case which is repeatable, which has very high impact. And the use case and the scope is also very clear with specific KPIs, like I mentioned earlier, around the efficiency and reducing escalations. So as soon as you maybe solve one particular use case, the trust is there from the team itself, and then they are actually excited for newer use cases as well. And the governance and accountability, I mean, we might have repeated this word almost maybe 100 times in this last 50 minutes, that if there's lots of governance, accountability, ownership within the team, we are promptly handling all the exceptions, uh, the prompts are reviewed and approved timely, there's a complete structure around it, then I think people would have a trust in the implementation, and they would actually know that, okay, this is gonna help them, and then the confidence will spread across different teams for adoption, and once the trust is there, the adoption will follow up.
Right. And in scaling these AI across multiple business units, Atul, what strategies, they do ensure this consistency, trust, this continued trust and the reliability.
Well, I think I would say, so if you have to scale the AI, so from strategies perspective, again, it's not just standardization and governance that I was just talking about, but then you have to put in complete framework where the team and the technology itself has to work hand in hand. And I think Agentforce actually helps you to do lots of that out of box itself. So again, you have to actually clearly put together correct data models. You have to have clear integrations that has to be there, and then the agent configurations and all, they also need to be well defined to set the foundational stage for scaling. But then the overall oversights should be there. The structure should be making sure that the decisions that the AI is taking is reliable as well as consistent over the period of time. Now, oftentimes the organizations find that having an external perspective, someone who can help bridge uh, technical complexity and operational reality, that actually helps them to accelerate adoption and build confidence across teams. And I think we did a webinar some time back as well, that which was more comparing do it yourself versus bringing in someone as a third party, and what are pros and cons. So I generally see wherever there is a third party that is involved who have all these technical expertise in putting in scaled systems, it actually improves the adoption pretty quickly. Now,
Yeah.
with this framework, if there's real-time monitoring that is happening, feedback loops in place, the models are continuously refined and tuned, and the outcomes slowly and gradually become predictable, then the trust will grow, and that would actually enable AI to deliver measurable impact.
True. Thank you, Atul, for unpacking this operation side of building the trust. Now, let's shift from diagnosing the trust gap to actionable strategies for closing it. Irina, from a leadership and cultural perspective, what factors you think, they most influence whether teams will trust and adopt AI like Agentforce at scale?
So let's focus on the two main ones, co-creation and transparency, and they actually come hand in hand. Co-creation means bringing people in, show what's in it for them, right? AI, people have that idea. I'm like, oh, AI is going to replace me. Well, if you show very early on that AI is actually not here to replace you, but take away tasks that you don't want to do anyway, and augment you and give you an extra capacity and be your friend and helpful assistant, you will be able to get an extra buy-in. In addition to, if you ask people that will be using or working with AI, well, where do you think AI would be most helpful to you? That will bring them into that co-creation and collaboration. That needs to be combined with transparency. And that goes back to citation, meaning where is this information coming from? And yes, Data 360 does have capability of showing you those citations. How is AI making decisions? What is the data that it's grounded in, right? So information being made available to people and people being in the loop to create that capability and to know that AI is here to help is what's going to drive that adoption and trust.
Thank you, Rina. For those insights. It's really clear that the culture and leadership, they set the tone for adoption. Without alignment and engagement at the top, even the most advanced AI initiatives, they can struggle to gain traction. Atul, what factors tend to slow the AI adoption, and how do you address them in practice?
I would just echo what Irina just mentioned, that the transparency and bringing in people at right time to work in tandem with AI is pretty critical. So I would say it slows down only when the focus is on technology and it's not on the humans and AI working in tandem. So unless it is considered as deeply human, operational, and organizational, it will always slow down for different organizations.
Right. Second that, Atul. Prioritizing co-creation and, providing this transparency into decisions and embedding governance and this feedback loops that you both have talked earlier, AI actually becomes a trusted, reliable capability. Right. Atul, Irina, as we think about turning these insights into action, I'd love to hear from both of you, based on your experience, right? What are the critical moves the leaders should prioritize today to ensure AI adoption is not only successful, but sustainable across their organizations?
Well, some of them are outlined here on the screen, starting with assessing readiness. And readiness is actually a pretty complex term because it ranges from technical readiness, data readiness, as well as organizational readiness. In order to have all those success factors that we outline, it really starts with that readiness. Definition of the roadmap, meaning what is your North Star and what incremental steps are you going to take to get there, with aligning on your first use case, objective, business value, etc. We talked about the importance of co-creation and having people at the right people at the table. Some of the initiatives are IT driven, and I say, where is your business? Like, well, we're going to make decision. I'm like, no, 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 no. AI augments business. You can make this decision without them. And vice versa. You can't have business in the room without IT because IT are capability providers. Measurable outcomes. We need to have a way to measure value, and that starts with defining what KPIs and metrics we're going to align to that agentic use case. And of course, partner strategy, right? Atul mentioned that data shows that having the right partner for implementation is part of the success. So Atul, please add.
Totally agree. Totally agree. I think you just covered it well, Irina. I think, yeah.
All right. As we wrap up today's session, one thing is clear. I mean, scaling AI is both a technical and a human journey. These words of wisdom, coming from Atul and Irina, I'm sure, these have added and cleared up, most of the queries, related to AI that we came in for. So a heartfelt thanks you, Irina and Atul, for showing us how these enterprise scale success comes from governance, trust, clarity, and operational discipline combined with people who understand, embrace, and champion the AI in their daily work. I mean, today's discussion gave us not only the what, but the how of making Agentforce transformative across the organization. I mean, to our audience, your curiosity, questions, and engagement demonstrate, the mindset that drives a real impact. AI adoption thrives when teams are aligned. Processes, they are repeatable, and capabilities, they are integrated with strategy and culture. Let's today's insights inspire your next steps, and I hope the AI initiatives scale with confidence, trust, and lasting impact. If you're planning your next Agent Force initiatives, the team at Grazitti is here to help you tailor the solutions that align seamlessly with your business and deliver measurable results. Thank you, Atul, and thank you, Reena, once again.